Good day to you. This is Anagalactic bringing you another science presentation in cosmic geometry. This is modern science now, so I might as well bring you up to speed on the way things are actually going. You need to learn a word. And it's the first word that Paul Dirac put into his magnificent body of almost absolutely Vulcan perfect books and papers. Paul Dirac was one of the most amazing and unique geniuses of all time. He was looking for beauty. It's 110 every day for the past 4 weeks. I like Ken Wheeler, and the reason I like Ken Wheeler, well, first of all, he's a moral and ethical and educated and good man. I am certain of that. It's hard to hide from my headlights or my X-ray vision, whatever you want to call it. And we used to actually send away for X-ray glasses back in the 60s in the back of the DC Comics. Oh, get some X-ray glasses, and it shows, a girl with a bikini, so you know what the 10-year-old boy wants those X-ray glasses for. But I understand Ken Wheeler, and he's trying to make some extra money. He works very hard, and if you don't know who Ken Wheeler is, he's a magnetist, and he's a good one. It's like that scene in Little Big Man, where Dustin Hoffman, as playing Little Big Man, is meeting one of the tribal members who's actually a faggot. He's a Native American gay boy. And I'm not saying that Ken is gay. I'm sure that he's not. Or even if he was, I wouldn't care. But he's not. But he's a magnetist, and he's a good one. That's what the Indians said about their gay boy. They thought very highly of him, according to Dustin Hoffman, who's narrating this story. If you haven't seen Little Big Man, you've got to see it and then read the book. Oh my God. Absolutely. And then you'll want to see the movie again. Oh, it's a fantastic movie. But there's a very... I mean, you can't help but like this guy. Yes, he's a raving faggot, and he's an Indian, but you just fucking love him. And Dustin, faggot boy like Dustin, so he invited him to come live with him in his tent. He said, he's trying to explain what this guy is. He says, and he's called in their language a he-mane, which has no translation. It's faggot, okay? And they thought very highly of him. He was a good one, and it showed him dancing, and I've actually danced like him when I'm in a good mood, and so, we're all the same. You know what I mean? It's just certain things you may not want to do because they're over the board. But Ken Wheeler is a very good one. He's a magnetist. And if you don't really watch him for a while, you could be really scared of this guy. He's covered with tattoos. He shaves his head bald. I don't know how he does it. It's always the same. There's no hair on his head. I don't know if that can... I don't know. He looks cool, but he looks different from any other human I've ever seen. He has 2 gigantic holes in his earlobes. And he's a magnetist. He fucking sounds like he's from about 1200 AD, only he's the most educated man in Europe. Yeah, a magnetist. Oh, that's not all good. Now, I think Ken is all good. The reason I bring up Ken is because he will keep you abreast of the times. In fact, I learned about the shooting of Trump from watching Ken's channel because I really like watching him. Well, I'm looking for his science, though, and that's really what we're driving at, so let's get to the point. Ken Wheeler is the foremost expert on magnetism alive today. There is no question about that in my mind. Whether you accept that or not is absolutely meaningless, both to me and you and Ken. But I'm just saying, he is the foremost magnetist, and That's how I want to introduce this lecture today, is with magnetism. Every child knows what magnetism is, and it baffles the you-know-what out of every kid who sees it. Well, here's the most amazing aspect of that. No physicist, no scientist, no anybody who's ever lived is any different from that child in explaining or understanding magnetism, because it cannot be understood. It is exactly what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. And you know why. It mesmerized the ancients, and they actually became suckers for traveling, shysters, who knew the power of a magnet to sway a crowd, and then they would sell them. So they would make a living. That's exactly what your modern scientists do today. All they're trying to do is make a living. Well, I'm going to quote something from Dave Chappelle, the great comedian, which is actually serious, and he's one of those comedians who can be serious. He said, and this was at the end of a story that he told about what happened in his own life, "Never stand between a man and his next meal." That's why I'm not trying to bring down any pillars. I'm not like Sabine Hassenfelder criticizing the shit out of these mathematicians and pseudophysicists. In fact, I don't even do what Alexander Unzicker does, who is a top-notch physicist. Well, he's a top-notch researcher who has the handle on these bastards, these pseudophysicists. I am not interested in doing what he does. Here's why. He's not helping. Although he is, he's not helping the industry. He addresses the industry, but thank God Alexander Unzicker turns his attention back to the public, where I benefit. Alexander Unzicker is not talking to anybody else on earth except to me. Same with Ken Wheeler. Ken Wheeler isn't reaching anybody, and he knows it. All he wants is money. All he wants is money. He's not trying to change anything. But there are certain things that a full-grown man will do which don't actually make ultimate sense. I'm one of them, because we're blueprinted to do it. We're actually obeying a higher power. Ken is. Which makes him seem like he's kind of threatening. And it's not serious. It's not like he really is threatening. He just looks funny. Well, he sounds even funnier. That man cannot be understood. There is not a human except I understand him. I understand everything that man says. I just tried to contact him and he rejected my advances. I tried to offer him something, which was a reformatting of his book, which is out there for free, so I'm not copyright infringing by doing this. I got his book because he's the foremost magnetist alive. These physicists can't even keep up with him. He lectures to professional audiences. He's well known. Ken Wheeler is not a fake. But the reason I bring up his name is because of my connection with what he knows. And it's the same holds with Alexander Unzicker. And as I promised within the past few weeks, it's really a promise to myself, but I share it now, I will be contacting Alexander Unzicker. And here's what's going to happen, most likely. The same thing that happened between myself and Ken Wheeler. Absolutely nothing. He did respond to my comment, and he did ask for a copy of my reformatting of his book. The reason I embarked on a reformatting of his book, called The Hidden Secrets of Magnetism, which is redundant. If they're secrets, they're already hidden. So anyway, he might be making a joke. He's extremely educated and intelligent, and he himself does not really appreciate that. Neither do I. I've been called intelligent all my life, never as a compliment. No, you develop a sixth eye, or a sixth sense, or a third eye. I mean, really, we're dealing with the occult. Magnetism is something that's used by the occult side of science because it mesmerizes your audience, and then you can pick their pockets. Ken Wheeler, I don't know how he squares this with himself, because I consider himself to be an ethical man, but he's just fleecing the public. He begs for money. Openly begs for money. I don't know how a self-respecting man can do that, but I don't judge him for it. Never stand between a man and his next meal. If your scientist gets money for what he does, don't talk to him. Do not even contact him. Don't listen to these bastards. Like the assholes from Stanford or the assholes from Oxford, they're all liars because they're getting money. You can't get money and be a scientist. They don't go together. Well, Ken is straddling the line. And the reason I find him to be favorable, he's far different from these bastards. He hates these bastards so much that he openly and cruelly ridicules Einstein, Feynman. He calls them names that are just ridiculously reprehensible. He's only degrading himself. I do the same thing. That's what I do the same thing that Ken does. The only thing really different about Ken's presentation, just the facade, the facade. I have no facade at all. He does. He has a facade because he wants your money. But he's not trying to steal it. He just wants you to, I don't know, feel like you're on his side and he needs money, so give him money. Same as any bum. Well, I don't do that. I don't want money. I hate money. But I don't judge anyone else. The problem is that in science, it's based on trust. If you're trying to learn something, you got to trust your source. Or if you are stupid or inexperienced in trying to get the information you need from so-called experts, you'll spend the rest of your life and you'll never get anywhere. Because there's thousands of these bastards. Sean Carroll, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Greene, and a host of interviewers, Lex Friedman, Kurt Mungle. You have to understand that all of these, they're not scientists. They're just not. If you think they are, they've got you. They'll talk about time travel, time dilation, multiple universes, parallel universes, the beginning of the universe, the end of the universe. Every single one of them will agree with Darwin. Every single one of them agrees with Darwin. Okay? So, they may say that they're against the Big Bang, they hate the Big Bang, they're tired of pseudoscience. Alexander Unzicker goes all the way. He can actually step on the toes of Nobel Prize laureate PhDs, nose to nose, and make them cry. Well, that's a hero, except for one thing. He doesn't have any answers. There's a footnote, though, a big one. He thinks that he's onto the right track, both with general relativity and with quantum mechanics. He believes that he can steer science in the right direction. That's a pipe dream. Only I am capable of making that statement and backing it up. So what you've tuned into, now that you're looking at me, what you've tuned into is caveat emptor, because I am completely unlike Ken Wheeler, although I put him up on the same level as myself because of his insight into magnetism. And I am nothing like Alexander Unzicker, except I do put him up on my level because he's doing science at least the right way. He's trying to get at the problems the right way. Well, he's hamstrung. He'll never get anywhere without me. And same with Ken Wheeler. His book is unreadable. He's almost typographically illiterate. This is actually somewhat common with very high-level geniuses, which I'm certain that he is. He may be a mentat. He's parapsychic. Only a man with supernatural vision could see magnetism as clearly as he does. The men that he cites as his mentors begins with Tesla, and Tesla is not good enough for Ken. He cites men like Charles Proteus Steinmetz, which I think in America would be pronounced Steinmetz. And there are a few others that he mentions. Dollard, he knows a lot about magnetism. That's the understatement of the year. Well, what about Unzicker? He's a German professional analyst. He's the kind of professor that you cannot fool. Well, those men are 1 in a million, even among the PhDs. So Unzicker is unique. He actually understands certain aspects of the cutting edge of science, which we're trying to penetrate, and I have penetrated, but they can't. Wheeler can't. He can't communicate. I'm sure that he understands magnetism and dielectricity. He's actually so pompous and so pretentious that he's obscene. What's amazing is that he knows it, and he broadcasts that he knows it, and now, after my just slim dealings with him, I'm sorry, Ken. I offered to translate his book into English. He doesn't hide the fact that he's a weirdo. He doesn't hide the fact that he's looking for money. And he also rejects legitimate offers for collaboration. I'm telling you, I'm stealing your fucking book. Science is far more than just content. I've already come to that conclusion sometime during this heat wave. You're cheating! So are you, Ken. You're a cheater. But you put your book out there for free. I give you a pass. Alexander Unzicker is just about my last hope to contact someone so that I can share what I discovered. I've been trying for 2 years to get a bite. Well, it's obviously not going to happen. And the beer is starting to take it. Oh, I'm not kidding when I say I'm going through a time of enormous stress. Well, here's why. When you check out your goddamned number system, 1, 2, 3, 4, where does it begin, stupid? It begins at 0, idiot. So what does that mean for physics, retard?
It means you're fucked. Because you think the center of everything
is null.
Universe. It's not null-averse. It's not nil-averse. It's not zero-verse. It's uni. That means 1. Well, there is a number system that has no 0. Did you know that? No, you did not. The reason is, no mathematician knows that. Never stand in the way of a man and his next meal. Dave Chappelle. Take that to the bank. What I discovered, the number system that begins at 1. That means that I can formulate the universe on 2 infinities. The proton is not a linear, analyzable object. It's a sphere. I proved that the sphere has the value 1 proportion 1. That's where it all begins. That's the lowest number that the universe uses. It's a two-component number. It has to be a two-component number. Well, why are we still using linear numbers, which are one-component numbers? You know it's been extended to complex. Isn't that a sin? Yes. And in order to get a curvature at all, we need calculus. Now we need hypercalculus, according to Einstein and Minkowski. And what about this
shit-eating
idea called the Big Bang? Do you realize how insane that is? There's only one theory more insane, and that's natural selection. Every single one of these men, including Unzicker and Wheeler, believe that humans came from this ecology. And that's the end of our presentation. Stay tuned. Later today, we'll have some content. This is Anagalactic, bringing you the secrets of the universe. We'll be right back.